Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? The NFL Combine starts this week in Indianapolis, and as we start to turn an eye toward this crop of draft prospects, we're also continuing to monitor what's going to happen with the impending free agent class. And, of course, how that's going to affect the New Orleans Saints, most notably at quarterback. Everybody's keeping an eye on Derek Carr, talking a ton about that. We know the names in the draft that we're watching. A name that we just haven't really talked about at all is current Saints quarterback Jameis Winston, who was this weekend at the HBCU Legacy Bowl and was on the broadcast on the NFL Network and talked about his contract situation. Give a listen.
But technically, I'm not a free agent just yet.
Oh, yes.
I have one more year under contract. But, man, my main thing right now is make sure I stay healthy and be ready to play. Like, that's the only thing that's on my mind. I got to be ready to play because I know when given the opportunity, I'm going to look forward to taking advantage of it.
Was that a little bit last year, a little bit of a push being healthy and being ready to play? Because I know you went hard trying to be ready, and I know you're not one to make excuses, but the sense I got was you weren't truly 100% while you were trying to play, to have that health to go out and compete as you normally do.
No, I wasn't, but that comes with the territory.
Right, that's good. It's part of the thing, but at the same time, it is so important to be able to show your best.
It is, because the film doesn't lie.
Right.
And the film doesn't say...
well, you know he was a little hurt that day.
It doesn't say that. So you have to be ready for whatever.
So, again, Jameis there at the start of that, again on the NFL Network, said, well, I'm not a free agent yet. And so that caused a little bit of a stir. And from my standpoint, I totally understand why Jameis would say that. Keep in mind that if Jameis is under contract for the start of the cap year, he's going to earn a base salary of $12.8 million. Okay? Meaning that's $12.8 million cash in his pocket if he's on the Saints roster for the start of the league year. So why would Jameis Winston want to just hand over $12.8 million? Like, of course he would love to be the Saints quarterback or be on the Saints roster at the start of the league year because they're going to have to pay him $12.8 million. Otherwise, if they cut him, they don't have to pay him that money, that salary. So that cash value, his dead cap hit number. Now, I guess it's going to depend on, when they release him, how it's all structured, et cetera. Like, if they'll likely cut him, designated as a post-June 1st release, and then his dead cap number goes to $2.8 million. So, financially, that makes sense for New Orleans. They're not going to pay him the $12.8 million cash. They'll designate it a post-June 1 release, and they'll save $10 million roughly against the cap. So, that's what's going to happen. That's what makes the most sense financially for New Orleans. And for Jameis, it makes sense why he would, of course, love to be there because it's worth $12 million. I mean, if the Saints cut him, they don't have to pay him that money. Nobody else is going to pay him $12 million for being a backup the last 3 years. So I get why Jameis is coming at it from the angle that he did in that soundbite. But the New Orleans Saints have told you what they're doing. Like, Jameis Winston is, like, this coaching staff has made up its mind. Like, you were 22nd in the NFL in scoring offense. You were bad, like objectively bad offensively this year. And they stuck with Andy Dalton. Like, I God bless. Y'all know my feelings on Jameis from the time he was a free agent in Tampa. I was like the first one pounding the table saying, sign Jameis Winston, sign Jameis Winston. Because the whole concept was, what you have with Teddy Bridgewater. Bring him in, let him back up Drew Brees, let him learn, and then maybe you have your guy in his physical prime, and maybe you can coach some of the bad habits out of him, put him in an offense that's going to help him succeed, learn from Drew Brees, all the stuff. It hadn't worked for a lot of different reasons. Sean Payton left, the injuries, all of it. Maybe you'll just never be a great player, whatever. It just hasn't worked, okay? And Dennis Allen has made his mind up. He stuck with Andy Dalton last year. We know what Jameis's contract situation is. He ain't going to be back. So, I mean, if you gave me my option, would I want Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston? Of course I want Jameis Winston. He's got a higher ceiling. Let's see him play when he's healthy. Like, could it be any worse? You were 7-10. You missed the playoffs. Like, what do you go 6-11? I mean, at this point, what does it matter if you're just trying to bridge to what your future is? So, but financially, the contract being what it is, and what the Saints did competitively last year, sticking with Andy Dalton, tells you everything you need to know. Jameis isn't going to be back. The reason he said it the way he did is because, of course, he doesn't want to be a free agent. If he's a free agent, it means the Saints aren't paying him nearly $13 million. So I get it. The two interesting things that popped up today. One was from Bill Barnwell over at ESPN.com, and I like Bill. I think he does a good job. And for his, I like his writing style. I like the sort of the manner in which he addresses a lot of the other things. So he looked at kind of top landing spots for all the quarterbacks this free agent class, and all the teams that need to improve at quarterback. And so for free agents, excuse me, like the top moves in free agency. For all the teams in the NFL. And the top move that he had for the New Orleans Saints in this free agent class is signing Derek Carr. And that's, I don't think, going to be a surprise to anyone. We've talked about it enough as of right now. Carr visited the Saints. They were willing to do a deal for him, to trade for him. We know how it all played out. What his contract demands are. Is he going to get the money? I don't know all of that. But more and more and more and more, it seems as though this is going to be the landing spot. If Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay, goes to the Jets, I think the market for Derek Carr is very soft, especially at the price he wants. So maybe sans a lot of competition, the Saints are able to sign Derek Carr at a more affordable price, which I'm okay with. I want to reiterate my feeling on Derek Carr. I was adamantly opposed to the Saints trading for Derek Carr because you would have been giving up an asset to acquire not only the player, but the player and his contract. Which would have been awful for New Orleans for 3 years. North of $40 million in the next 2 years. That would have been horrendous. Now, if you can sign Derek Carr and sign him to a team-friendly contract, okay. Structure it however you want, make it work. Fine. You're better at quarterback with Derek Carr than you are with Andy Dalton. I think we would all agree to that. Now, what's that price tag? We'll discuss that when that happens, but it seems more and more likely that Derek Carr is going to be the guy for New Orleans, unless if there's another team out there that we're just not foreseeing that may jump up and grab Derek Carr. The wild card in this, which I think is, I want to be very clear. I would put the odds of this happening at like 6%. Maybe like 5.8%, so that it's less than 6%. But Reggie Bush, quote tweet, if you saw this on Friday, so Barstool Nola did a graphic, like an edit of Lamar Jackson in a Saints uniform, and Reggie Bush quote tweeted it and said, "Come on home, LJ, we got you," with the $ emojis. Okay. Number one. First, I love that Reggie Bush is a Saints ambassador. Like, of course, Reggie was drafted by New Orleans. The Saints had a love affair with him. The city had a love affair with him. The Saint Reggie, the Reggie chants. He won a Super Bowl in New Orleans, all that stuff. He also left New Orleans and played in Miami and in Detroit and in San Francisco and played a lot of different places. And he's from San Diego and he played at SC. And so Reggie's got a lot of ties elsewhere. So the fact that he associates himself with New Orleans, I don't know if you'll agree with this. It just gives me the warm and fuzzies. Okay, like some of you may roll your eyes or laugh. That's fine. I'm good with it. But I'm glad. I just love that Reggie said, "Come home, Lamar," like saying New Orleans is his home. I love that. And maybe that's an insecurity thing from a small market team that I love when stars like to associate themselves with the city. So I love that from Reggie Bush. That's number one. Number two, I think there's like what did I say? 5.8% chance? Was that what I get? Less, so it's less than 5.8% chance of Lamar Jackson ending up in New Orleans. The Ravens are going to tag Lamar Jackson. They're not going to let him walk for nothing. He's a former league MVP. He is a young guy at 26 years old. He is still extremely dynamic. I would be fascinating to see what Lamar Jackson would look like in Baltimore with Todd Monken as his new offensive coordinator, play caller. But Baltimore is not going to let Lamar Jackson walk. So they're going to do one of two things. They're either going to franchise tag him with the exclusive tag, meaning they'd probably pay him around $45 million. Again, it's the average of the top 5 highest salaries at that position in the NFL. So it'd be somewhere north of around $45 million would be the tag. Or they could sign to the non-exclusive tag, which is less, which would be around $32 million. And other teams could sign Lamar Jackson to an offer sheet, and ultimately, if the Ravens decided not to match, they would be compensated with draft capital. Both of those things would exclude the New Orleans Saints. Number one, if Baltimore signs Lamar Jackson to an exclusive franchise tag, well, then he's a Baltimore Raven. That's that. If they sign him to the non-exclusive tag, then the Saints would have to go essentially sign Lamar Jackson to a contract. He would have to want to sign with New Orleans, and then the Saints would have to have the draft capital to give to Baltimore in exchange for signing their free agent, which the Saints don't have. So I would love this. I would love to see Lamar Jackson as a New Orleans Saint. That may be polarizing for some. The idea of a mobile quarterback who could be more injury prone, I understand. I'm also talking about a dude that's 26 years old who's won a league MVP, who's led a team to a 15-win season. Like, that dude can win at this level. We've seen it. So that's really exciting. I also don't think it's in any way realistic that Lamar Jackson would end up in New Orleans. So you just start to check the boxes, and you see what are realistic possibilities. Financially, Jameis doesn't make sense. Like, they're going to cut him. Derek Carr, they like him a lot. Does he reciprocate? We'll see. Lamar Jackson, there's just not really a way. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be considering New Orleans. So you look at a very watered-down quarterback market. Can you get Derek Carr to sign with you? Do you draft a quarterback with either the 29th or the 40th pick of the draft? Like, do you go sign Carson Wentz, who was let go by Washington? I mean, these are your options. None of them are great. So I keep looking back to saying, okay, what has the biggest, like the highest ceiling potential? And that's hitting on a draft pick. 33-year-old Derek Carr ain't coming in here winning the Super Bowl. You're not the Rams where you just add Matthew Stafford and now you're a championship team. You're not that roster. You don't have Cooper Kupp. You don't have Aaron Donald. You don't have those freak shows they had over there. Von Miller. I mean, Odell was like your number 3 receiver. That ain't you. What has the biggest potential? It's drafting a quarterback. I'm going to keep hammering that. That's my preference. You want to sign a bridge quarterback? Cool. You want to sign Derek Carr to a team-friendly deal? Fine. You want to bring back Andy Dalton? Whatever. You got to go get you a young quarterback because that's where you have that's where you have the highest ceiling potential. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.